Awesome. So I don't know how many people realize that I went into the schedule and changed the title for Guillaume Talks. And I changed it for Progressive Web Apps for Angular. But awesome. That's not right. That's not right. It's only a little joke that I tried because I'm an Angular Google developer expert, and I'm kind of in the wrong place, I guess. And I had to do it. But Guillaume is going to talk about GraphQL, Apollo, and obviously Vue. So give him a round of applause.
Thank you. So, hello everybody. As I said, we are going to talk about Apollo and GraphQL. So I'm Guillaume. I'm from the vuejs core team, and I also work at Livestorm. It's a webinar service for companies. So the main goal, the main topic of this talk is that today, when we are building web apps, we need better tools and better technologies to face the problems we encounter today for network and such. So why do we need that? In most apps today, in big companies or smaller ones, we have a lot of components, like several different databases, several different languages, and such. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to build great apps. So this is a summary. First, I will talk about GraphQL and how it can solve a lot of problems. Then we go over to Apollo on why it's an amazing set of tools. And then we have a little demo about using it in a Vue app. So first, GraphQL, what is it? It's a spec with a schema definition language for the server. It's also a query language for the clients to fetch data from the server. And it's a community of tools. Lots of projects are on GraphQL to help you build apps with it. So first, GraphQL is based around a typed schema. So it's looking like this. So you can see a type, and then you've got fields and types on the fields. And what it brings to you is error prevention. You can get very detailed error stack traces and go faster while debugging your apps. It can also provide you with debugging tools and also be more explicit, which means better communication between your front-end and back-end teams. And it also can generate docs on the fly in real time, so it's great. On the client side, you can query on your schema, and you only get what you really asked for. So this is a query where we fetch messages, and then what we get is looking like this. So as you can see, it's almost the same shape. So what the advantages of this? It reduces the transfer size of your request because you only get what you asked for. It also allows you to make multiple requests in one shot and reduce waterfall, especially on mobile. And you know what you will get from a query. So it sped up your development. So another great aspect of GraphQL is that it allows you to architecture your app into a more simple and clear way. So on the left, you got pretty standard setup in companies today, with lots of different REST endpoints. On the right, you got a GraphQL example. So as you can see, you have only one GraphQL endpoint, and then you can fetch from different databases or services. Another cool thing about GraphQL is that you can evolve it without making new version. You know, when you put v1, v2 on the URL of your REST API, it's a thing of the past. So you can naturally add fields to your API, and if your existing clients don't use it, it's okay. And you can duplicate old ones. So the clients using your API will know that this field is deprecated, and maybe you will remove it in a year or so. And who is using GraphQL? Well, a lot of big companies. So it's very, very, you know, it's only very few of them here. You got a lot more. So let's go over to Apollo on why you should use it. So what's Apollo? It's first server tools that allows you to build a GraphQL API server in a easier way. And you got the Apollo client, which is packed with features to help you build a web app using GraphQL. And then you got a very strong community with lots of community projects around Apollo GraphQL. And it's driven by a few principles, like by the community for the community. It's built by Meteor Development Group, which is a company using open source a lot. So they take this very seriously. Simplicity to get you started and be very approachable. And performance, obviously. So what's Apollo servers look like? You got on the right the several types of queries you can make to a GraphQL API, like queries, mutation to change your data, and subscriptions to make you know, real-time events. All of that gets validated against schema with typing, so you get nice errors. And then it goes to resolvers that can you know, make requests to several different databases or other services, or even REST APIs, and then you get the response. So what is it? Here's an example of code to set up such a server. So as you can see, you have a typedef string, which is the schema, using the schema definition language from GraphQL. Then you got resolvers that allows you to make, for example, MySQL requests. And then you use Express, for example. You can use other packages like Core and such. And then your server is up. In the Apollo community, we got another great tool to do that. It's called Graphcool Yoga. And it allows you to do the same thing in one line of code. So I can urge you to check this out. Another great tool to get started creating an Apollo server is Apollo Launchpad. It's like GSField or CodePen for GraphQL. So you can write very easily a schema and resolvers, and you can use the URL to use it in your app very easily. And one of the latest tools released by the company behind Apollo is Apollo Engine. So it's a gateway that sits between your clients and your GraphQL API. And it allows you to do cool things like monitoring your queries, caching the data automatically, reporting errors on other things. So you can try it on engine.apollo.com for free. And I got a few slides about specific features around the engine. So often we got requests from GraphQL users saying, okay, we got a query language, but we are sending the whole query on the network, so it's not very good, especially considering users don't have usually a good upload speed. So what's persisted query? It's generating a hash for each query in your app, and then using it to duplicate this query on the server, so the server knows which hash is which query, and then you only have to send the hash. You don't have to send the whole GraphQL query. So this is how is it working? So the first time the server doesn't know your query, so he's saying, oh, I don't know your query, send me the full query, and then you can just send the hash. Another great feature is schema stitching. It allows you to merge two GraphQL schema together. For example, you got a schema about weather, and you want to integrate it into your app. So you just have to say, okay, I'm taking this schema and merging it into my own. So then you can use it directly in your GraphQL API. The other part of Apollo is obviously the client. So it got a lot of features, like a normalized cache, which is quite smart at caching your requests. And you can use it like this. So pretty simple. Actually, Apollo Boost is a package that went live yesterday to help you use Apollo client before we add a few more lines of code. So you can just use it right now. And you also got Devtools to check what is in your cache and run queries. As you can see, a lot of well-known companies are using Apollo right now. So you can find use cases, studies on their website. And then, this is the good part of the talk, because we are going to use a Vue Apollo to create an app right now. So here I got a command line, and we are going to use Vue CLI 3.0 alpha, which Ivan talked about earlier. So I'm going to create a new project, Vue Amsterdam. Okay. I'm going to, select the default so we don't have to go there all the choices. I'm thankful that the network is working right. Yeah, installing live demos is a big risk. So here we go. We got a new app. I'm going to go into the folder. Oh, the doc won't go away. Sorry. So I'm going to use a command that Ivan talked about briefly but didn't demo. So you, you can learn more about Vue CLI. So first we need to install a new package, which is Vue CLI plugin Apollo. And then we are going to inject this new plugin into our app, even if it's already created. So we got an app, as you can see. And we use Vue invoke Apollo. Oh, it's very slow. Okay. The first question is asked you is, do you want a GraphQL API server? Yeah, of course. And they want automatic mocking. Why not? An Apollo engine. Yes. I got a key. You can create one for free on engine.apollo.com. OK, here we go. We got Apollo into our app on a GraphQL API server. So I can go ahead and run yarn, run GraphQL API. And here I go. I got a GraphQL server already. I got another tab to run yarn run serve. Oh, sorry. OK. While it's building, we can check out our GraphQL server already. OK, so this is GraphQL Playground. So it allows you to play with your GraphQL API even without a real app. So we can see on the left a query, on the right the result. So I can go ahead and run it. Here we go. We got a running GraphQL server. As you can see on the right, you got an automatically generated documentation for the server. So you can see we got some predefined queries and types. And you can click on it and get descriptions. And you got also, like I said, automatic mocking. So I can go ahead, open the folder. So the Vue invoke Apollo added new things into your app, like setting up an Apollo client, injecting it into your app automatically, writing a bunch of example queries into GQL file with the right Webpack loader. And you also got a GraphQL API folder where you can write a schema on resolvers. And I can go ahead and use automatic mocking to create new type like this. Okay, so we got a new type, and then can create a new query. Okay, so if I save, our server will restart automatically, and then we can use it right away. Oh, sorry. So as you can see, it can give you detailed errors. Oh, yeah. Change the name of the oh. I'm just going to refresh it so we can, auto-complete things easier. And here we go. So right now we got like a new Vue app, like Evan said, showed earlier. I'm going to go ahead and change the app a little bit, because the Vue invoke Apollo added an example component to your app. So it's called Apollo example. Oh. Yeah, okay. Right. So here it is. We got an app with Apollo, so this is actually from the server. I can show you quickly how it looks like. So you can just add an Apollo query component with the GraphQL query and some variables if you want to. And then you can use scoped slots to get back the data and other informations like loading state or error, if any. So it's very, very easy to get started. And as you can see, as a type, it's going to change. OK. And the Vue invoke Apollo command also adds subscriptions using WebSocket. So I can go ahead and add some message. OK. So here we go. So to use subscriptions is very easy. Inside your Apollo query component, you can add another special component called Apollo subscribe to more, and you pass it a GraphQL subscription query. And then you can tell it how to add the new message to your already existing cached data. So it's quite simple to do. OK, so we got a GraphQL server running Vue app with everything set up to use GraphQL into it in just a few minutes. So that's it for the demo. So thank you for listening to me.